Ooh.
Our market's about to go nuclear. There are talks right now of a dump coming out just very, very soon with Bitcoin. But more importantly, there could potentially be a new ETF and 3 tokens that we're going to be getting into this stream today that are a part of a massive narrative that have some crazy price predictions. So it's time to discover crypto.
Capital flight is coming to the United States. The dollar is going to zero.
And that's what makes Bitcoin so special.
You have to have gone through a couple cycles to understand.
Once the price is able to clear this level, the breakout is on its way.
This is your indication to jump in now.
Good morning, everybody. We have a ton of news to break down today. And today we have a very special guest joining us. So welcome to the stream, Drew. How are you feeling? Markets are kind of stagnant, but it's really cool to have you on a very special hump day.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling awesome. Basically, just I was actually, the last time I was on the show was the first time we were in this new set. So it feels good to be back. Yeah. But yeah, we've been hitting it hard in the basement. Some projects that we've been kind of shifting into have been really going well. But now there's a little bit of excitement building up in other narratives like RWA'S, DEPIN, things of that nature, faster horses in the race of the crypto markets at the bull run as it approaches. So kind of been looking at that stuff. Obviously, all the wars and all that stuff going on. We covered the blockchain basement and on Rumble. Growing well. So
it's a great time. It's a great time. And guys, make sure you're going to want to stick around today because I'm going to have Drew actually show some of his favorite projects, some as well as some that I'm actually watching in the DEPIN industry. And a few other emerging assets that will be probably taking place in 2024. So make sure you guys smash that like button and stick around. But more importantly, let's get into the markets. We have $51,000 Bitcoin here at $51,337. Not much of a pullback here. This isn't the nuclear moment I'm actually talking about. There's breaking news that we're going to be getting into in roughly 5 minutes here. But Ethereum at almost 3,000. It did end up actually breaching last night. I don't know if you realized that with the short breakthrough. So that's 2 tests now of that 3K level that we haven't been able to test through. But it's very obvious that Ethereum is leading the markets right now with not a lot of downside momentum. And even Bitcoin, with people saying it's struggling, liquidations are here, which we'll get to with Kelly in the charts. We're starting to see a lot of support develop here. BNB at $370. Solana at $103, XRP here, 54 cents still. Of course, Cardano at 59 cents, Avalanche 37. And let's see what's in the top movers. We have Sia Coin, we have SC, which I believe we have the Nictator. Are you deep in the bags of Sia Coin or no?
Yeah, I have a very large and girthy bag of Sia.
Wide and girthy or long and girthy?
Veiny.
What's?
Veiny.
Veiny and girthy. So it's just stretch in the bags here. That's a really strong bag you have there with Fetch AI in second place, 7.4%. Leo token here, $4.37. And really not a lot of top movers that are above that 5% range, which could show we're actually starting to see a bit of consolidation. You'll notice that the stable coins, guys, are some of those top movers. When you see stable coins,
that's not a good sign.
Exactly. Yeah. When you see stable coins of, being the top movers, what do you feel about the markets?
Well, I mean, it's kind of just stagnated out, you know what I mean? And really, something else that's popping out to me on this is like this is the new guard of crypto. I mean, this is the AI coins. Obviously, BNB, I'm not counting against BNB's price action. I think BNB is going to hit 2K at the next bull market peak. That's kind of like my conservative target for it. But Anta, Dimension, Render, all of these new projects that have really gained a lot of attention really quickly at the right time. I think that, obviously you can build out a great product. You can have all the bells and whistles that blockchain needs to be effective, but it's all about timing as well in the markets, I feel like. And I think that that's what we're seeing with Render, with SWI, Stacks, building secondary layers on Bitcoin. These are going to be fun new narratives that aren't, already 2 cycles down the road inflating themselves out of worth. And I think that this is exactly where I'm starting to focus as far as what I'm getting into next. I'm looking basically in the top 80 to 130, kind of where my mindset is shifted.
That's smart.
Just heavier movers, faster movers, because the big bags have been built. Like, I don't think I'll be getting a chance to, hammer into Chainlink at $5 again. I don't think I'll be able to hammer into Avalanche. Yeah, you can't hammer in. You have to realize when the train has taken off from that station and now kind of realign my investment focus to these, hot new tokens. Narrative and community and the use case has to be there though. So
yeah, for the people that are watching that may not be in the market, or you've been in the market for not about one cycle at this point. That's a great point. Top 80 to this 130 range is you're not going to be looking at the top 10 projects as you did in 2020, right? Top 10 meant like a few $1 billion. So they still had the possibility of hitting a 10x, still had the possibility of hitting a 25x. And now it's like there's so much to this market and there's a lot more dilution and saturation. There's going to be more competition. And that's why you need to start branching out and find the emerging assets, which we're going to be covering again, our top 3 here later in this episode. So I'm excited. For top losers today, guys, though, nobody's a loser in my heart, but StarkNet is a loser on the charts. 33.3% here, down a little bit. I do think they just got an announcement, which we'll get to with Coinbase later in this episode. But yeah, did just launch, and within the 24 hours, it's completely normal to see that volatility. What I wanted to point out is, holy smokes, bejesus, $1.5 billion in volume and a $1.3 billion market cap. Chat, let us know if you're in StarkNet. Let me know if you guys have been watching this project. But of course, that is a mass amount of volume and just goes to show we are very much, in fact, in a bull run. You're saying $1.4 billion in volume in 24 hours?
Yeah, you see the speculative and, well-built projects. I'm not saying they're not well-built, but they are speculative. They're entering the market. You see that FOMO for it, or that fever for these new upcoming technologies. That was just kind of the moment where I realized that we were getting ready to actually start liftoff, and some of these new kind of undiscovered narratives, even in RWA'S, they're all rolling out and becoming better known in crypto. But we are, in a bubble still. Searches for Bitcoin still in the gutter. So retail at large is not here yet. This is us getting a good understanding of the topography and landscape of what is going to be hot. I feel StarkNet's going to be a mover. Optimism team, these ones with high, movements that I'm seeing on the top losers today, I'm not betting against a single one of these top 5.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely got RWA'S here, a huge favorite of mine. I sold my bag way early on this one because I was actually in this early 2020, 21. Saw about a 3x on it, took profits, and walked away after it just ended up, going to the moon, which I got at like $2.
Yeah.
So I went from $6, and then at that time, that bag would have been awesome today. But we have Sats here up about 0.7%. Beam, a top loser as well, down 9.8%. Blur, 7.8%. Algorand, 7.4%. Near Protocol at 7.2%. And Conflux, the Ethereum of China, down 7% here today. So let's get to the breaking news, chat, guys. I want you guys to just start, type 1 in chat if you like XRP, type 2 in chat if you're indifferent, and type 3 if you really just, think it's going to go to 0. But here we have Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse hints at a game-changing connection between BlackRock and Ripple launching an XRP ETF. I'll unplug it here so we can listen to it again, unless it pops up to the PC there for you. Stating, I think it makes sense for the XRP community overall. And this is in response to, could BlackRock and Ripple be secretly collaborating for an XRP ETF? This right here, I didn't mean to read live because that, of course, is going to be a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
But Brad Garlinghouse comes out and says this on Bloomberg. So let's go ahead and play this for the audience.
You may need to reset your...
Can you hear it? Let me see.
Yeah.
Can you hear it or no?
Yeah, we got it.
Cool. You have audio. Cool. Let's hit this, baby. Let's go. Oh, nope. Don't mean to widescreen.
So you would welcome an XRP ETF then?
We would certainly welcome it, and I think it's inevitable that there'll be, multiple ETFs around different tokens. And I think you'll even see ETFs potentially around baskets that also, I think, further diversify that risk.
Are you in talks with the largest issuers, particularly BlackRock, to get this done?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I know BlackRock has said some things publicly. We think it makes sense for the XRP community overall.
So you would welcome an XRP?
Wow. So have you been in talks with BlackRock? Drew, what are your thoughts? Have they actually been in talks with BlackRock?
I would not say no. I would say no. I think that Ripple, the IPO, the stock side of Ripple is really the exciting part about it. But what he said at the beginning, that we will see multiple ETFs for altcoins, I do think is true. But I don't think it's XRP. I think that Ripple is going to be more leaning into the technology stocks, and with that IPO rollout, I think that's going to take a lot of the thunder away from XRP. I know it's not what a lot of people want to hear immediately, but maybe the technology grows and is able to build slowly by just implementing the technology, leaving the token out of it, and then over time the token could get put into place. But honestly, I don't think that he's in direct talks with. BlackRock to do this. I think that, over the past few years, I've seen exciting articles one way or another every single day for XRP, yet the price and the blow off tops that it experiences every single bull market are continually lower and lower and lower. And we have, a lot of people speculating on, cycle peaks that happened long, long ago at this point. But, and I hold XRP, so it's kind of a begrudged, thought that I have on this, but this is just me being honest with myself. My bags that I hold, they're very old bags, very hopeful that, the token can find a place within central banking at a point. And then I realized that Fed now is just using Ripple for the technology. So that's kind of where my mindset is at with it right now. But I mean, if you are looking at XRP, it's not like I feel like it's going to go to zero or anything like that. I just see maybe tree fitty, about $3.50.
Wow.
Okay.
$3.50.
That's what I'm talking about.
$3.50.
Did it.
Just keep the expectations reasonable when you're looking at this project. I mean, we have all the speculation about BlackRock and their ETF for Ethereum that's coming up. I think that Ethereum ETF is really going to dominate 2024. And then we'll have some other applications, but I'm thinking we'll probably see an application for Solana and Chainlink.
Yeah, so what are your, and actually, Nick, I think you had a response to that too as well. What are your thoughts on an XRP ETF?
XRP ETF?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the XRP ETF is the least likely of any of the ETFs, but it's definitely not impossible. I think the next ETF that's going to be up after the Ethereum one is going to be something around Chainlink. Then you're going to see Solana. Then you're going to see Avalanche. The big corpo VC Silicon Valley chains are going to get their ETFs because they're essentially tech stocks. Let's be honest.
So what are your guys' thoughts? I wanted to pull up this registration list because obviously the XRP, Ripple itself, right? There's a lot of really key figures a part of that company. You have Rosie Rios, who was, an older U.S. treasurer.
Her name is on the $100 bill.
It was a treasurer, right? Correct? For the $100 bill?
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely wild to see that actually take, imagine your signature on all the 100, or at least a lot of $100 bills. That's like kind of a really cool flex. But Ripple's obviously on this registration management group. They hold themselves as a higher standard, I would say. And this you brought up a good point, right? It's an old token. It doesn't mean it's not necessarily bullish in a sense. Like you just said, 350. That's like a massive percentage gain.
A huge market.
We're talking tens of billions of dollars, right? We're talking actually hundreds of billions of dollars at that range. Do you see any interconnection with these large institutions that will benefit the XRP community in the long term, or are you more looking at this as Ripple's in a very strong place to IPO and their products will be more successful, which would actually elaborate the value of Ripple over XRP in the long term?
Absolutely. I think Ripple is going to be much more valuable than XRP in, a lot quicker than we expect. And, $3.50, that is my, overall thought process on us accomplishing an $7 to $8 trillion market cap at large from these ETFs. I mean, I'm talking about a big, big move for the markets as a whole. And XRP, it takes a lot of money to go into the market cap at this point to really move it in a substantial manner. I think that we will see, 3, 4, maybe 5x out of it. But again, as I said, I'm looking for faster horses in the race.
Yeah, and this goes to, so I follow something called 50-25 VC strategy. I talk about a lot. This is where XRP, I believe it is a blue chip in the sense that this is something I don't expect it to make me that 10x. I do expect it to sustain itself still here for the next 5 years. I don't see Ripple necessarily going anywhere anytime soon, which does make it this kind of stronger valued-based asset than a lot of the speculative assets on the market.
Another thing just came to me.
Go for it.
In the latest crashes, it lost a lot less than,
it's actually stable.
It's very stable.
Yeah.
It feels like a slightly failed stable. So,
Well, I hopefully we can come back from that one because I do agree it's been a long time going for the XRP price action. But guys, let me know in the chat, what ETF do you want to see next? Because the takeaway from that interview was the talks and discussions of further ETFs in this market. So altcoins not Bitcoin, altcoins. And you saw Bitcoin see billions upon billions of dollars in inflows. And it's one of the best financial products to ever exist, if not the best ETF to ever launch. What altcoins do you want to see and which ones do you expect? I am going to be under the category as more DeFi. I think we might see things more like Chainlink and kind of a bundled package. where we start seeing more baskets created as well.
Yeah.
But Ripple is okay with this XRP ETF here, guys. The Ripple chief believes that the eventual approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF in the US is good for the crypto markets and broader investment community about what recent developments mean for a potential XRP ETF and whether Ripple will welcomes this or not. So of course he said they did. That is the takeaway from here, and jumps into the little brother of XRP, which is going to be smart contracts going live on none other than Stellar Lumens, kicking off a new era for the network. So in a Tuesday blog post, the SDF revealed that Stellar XLM network validators had successfully implemented the Protocol 20 upgrade, enabling the activation of smart contracts and initiating the phased rollout of their smart contract platform, Soroban. So ultimately, the SDF emphasized that this new contract ecosystem would empower the creation of decentralized applications, enabling developers to, that was fine, that was Zach, right, to build innovative protocols and applications on the Stellar network. Stellar's $100 million funding initiative to encourage developers to embrace the Soroban smart contract platform. The SDF initiated a $100 million funding initiative in October of 2022. There's been some time here. This is, of course, operated by Jed McCaleb. If you guys don't know what XLM and Stellar is, he said, I look at it as the Litecoin of Bitcoin. It's not technically a fork of XRP, but the code and the functionality is nearly identical at this point, and created by a co-founder of Ripple himself, which was Jed McCaleb. He was also the founder of Mt. Gox, which inevitably collapsed quite some time ago. So Jed McCaleb also was notorious for having a wallet called Taco Stand. He was dumping hundreds of millions and billions of dollars on XRP holders over a very long period of time. And so I look at Stellar Lumens as an XRP community-funded project. And I wish it was native to the asset, because there would be a lot more value within the community.
I know. And overall, like, the price does look very similar to XRP's experience, but it's had slightly better price action, honestly. Like, its previous bull market that we just experienced was much more aggressive than XRP's. It was just slightly over its original one here in 2018. But this is another one I hold as well. I hold Stellar, and where I'm thinking this, I was very bearish on, just really lack of price action while the rest of the market woke up right here. But also, Johnny reminded me of something very, very reasonable. It's that last bull market, I was using Stellar to exit position. It was a very cheap fees. It was very fast. It works very well. Honestly, the price action lackluster. It's 11 cents right now. I mean, we were, at the hits of the bear market, it went down to 3 cents. This is where I was able to get in. It was like 4 or 3 cents right here. Just buying the absolute guts and blood on the ground here. But in essence, the Stellar project and the XRP narrative, I'm going to just bring it up. If you want a faster horse in the race within the Stellar XRP talk, I'm bringing it up. Flare has better price action potential than either of these. So
I still never got my Flare token.
And
my airdrop.
I had one wallet get Flare. I know that the Flare airdrop went awful, but honestly, this one's shown a little bit more aggression.
I look at the XRP army as a very smart community that miscalculated the math equation and the math competition by just a slight variable. And so I think the overall narrative around, the ISO trend was a little short of what was it to become, which was, of course, RWA'S, real world assets. And so I think there is a play on there with the RWA'S that are going to start rolling out. But like you just mentioned, whether it's a product like Casper that we've seen explode, that were a part of that same kind of ecosystem for a long time. HBAR, Quant exploded, whether people like it or not. And they're like, oh, it's not performing as well right now. That did an insane amount of gains in 2021. And so now that narrative is starting to be created, but now that market is way more saturated, and is why you need to pay attention to the 3 tokens we're going to be sharing with you guys at the end of this video. So all 780 people watching right now, you guys are beautiful. Thank you for the support. Make sure that you guys smash that like button and stick around, because we're going to be showing you some clips of the CEO of one of the largest companies in the world that just came out. This is not breaking news, but within 72 hours of a video I found, him speaking in Dubai about the next largest growing industry in both AI, which will obviously roll over into crypto. So I'll talk about that in just a moment. But I want to get to the liquidations, because Bitcoin's price has been stagnant. Should you buy? Should you sell? What are we doing right now? Where are markets sitting? Bitcoin price rejected, of course, the $53,000 level, leaving almost $300 million in liquidations. Bitcoin jumped by several $100s yesterday and tapped 53,000 for the first time in over 2 years, but was violently rejected at that point. Bitcoin touched but failed. It's getting teased here.
Wow.
The asset's price has gone, of course, above $52,000 here a couple of times lately, but couldn't keep the momentum going towards 53K. That finally happened yesterday when the bulls initiated another leg up, resulting in touching that level to mark a new high since 2021. Its market cap is on the brink of losing the $1 trillion level, while its dominance over the alts has remained at the same spot of negative 49.2%. Alts in retrace mode. Most altcoins, guys, here, look at the red today on the charts. Wow. Right? We're getting a lot of red. Most altcoins also briefly jumped yesterday, including Ethereum. The second largest digital asset soared to over $3,000 for the first time since, gets this, April of 2022. So that is before, of course, the FTX collapse of 2020. Or is that 2021? Oh, that's 2020.
Yep. I think it was 22.
Man, dude, why is time going by so quick?
I know.
Do you guys realize it's 2024? What happened?
Yeah, we move a mile a minute.
We're going to blink and all of a sudden I'm going to be like, I don't even know. I'll just roll over, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, the Binance coin has kept up its run, going up by 2.4% now. And, of course, a lot of blood here, guys. A lot of retracement, but there is talks of potentially an alt season right around the corner as Bitcoin options worth $3.7 billion approaching expiration. So on February 23rd, guys, we have 2 days left. 2 days left. You have 48 hours. The last Friday of the month marks the expiration of an impressive $3.7 billion in Bitcoin options, a situation that can notably influence the Bitcoin market according to Deribit data. So the max pain price, guys, I love watching this. And I'm going to pull up signals after we have Kelly on here in just a second. Yeah. But the max pain is $47,000 on the market. There's a major imbalance there that I will talk about, which is kind of my worst case scenario for that price action. But, people, if you guys start listening to creators, and I'm just going to give you the heads up here, because I've been in multiple cycles now, a lot of people start to attach themselves to this max pain idea. I did it, and it was a mistake when I first started getting into crypto, because wow, this makes sense. This is where market makers want to wipe everybody out. And honestly, the indication that the market makers are going to push that max pain price often never plays out. So, will that actually break? I look at it as it generally just turns into a support level, or sometimes doesn't happen. Of course it can, but don't get too concerned with it. The current higher price leans towards bullish sentiment, a trend not wholly predicted by options market setup, should the price remain above 51,000. So we really got to hold that 51K. If we hold where Bitcoin is today by Friday, we are going up. That is essentially what this article is saying with the open interest spike, the spike interest here. So nearly 450,000 Bitcoin acquired by short-term holders. This is the last on-chain data metric I have before the TA, which is, again, bullish. Short-term holders defined by Glassnode as investors who've held Bitcoin for less than 155 days. And shame on you if you've been in for more than one cycle. Hold on to that Bitcoin. Stack those sats. I'm just kidding. Take profits is a beautiful thing. I have significantly bulked up their holdings since December 3rd. So almost 2 months, or just over 2 months, moving from 2,200,000 Bitcoin roughly to 2.6 or 2.7 million Bitcoin roughly, marking a substantial increase of almost 500,000 tokens, roughly 20%. So what this goes to show, guys, notice the price action in the long term. So short-term holders, we're looking at, this is June 23rd, March of 2023. Long-term holders buy when there's a dip. Retail short-term holders, or long-term holder supply is the blue, right? So blue right here. So this is even the best metric here, because generally when short-term holders, we got to look through the historical price action with these cycles. As generally when short-term holders start buying and you get this curve, if you zoom on a chart, I'll show you my face here. When you get that curve going to the upside, that tends to mean that short-term holders are equivalent to retail that is brand new FOMO into the market. And you start to get this idea that maybe markets are definitely starting to be overbought, or the other way, oversold. And in this case, when we see short-term holders breaking through that, unfortunately, it does sometimes equate to that. So I definitely want to check out the charts here, because I'll pull up the other one. I'll find it for you guys. Kelly, how are you doing today? Let me know what we're seeing on Bitcoin's price action. Are we going to be heading down further here? What's that 47K level look like? And kind of we'll just lead off here. What are your thoughts on when short-term holders start outpacing long-term holders?
You know what? That is such a great question. I'm getting I'm getting double audio right now.
Yeah, give me a sec. We're plugging in.
I unplugged myself. I'm sorry. Now we're safe. We're protected.
I need more snare. I need more snare in my headphone. All right. So here is what we got to talk about Today is opportunity day, everybody. This is not the time to get chopped out. I shared a great sort of breakdown on this about a week ago, and I'm going to share this right here. I tagged you in it as well, Josh, and that's right here. This is the asymmetric buy opportunity. This is the strength of long-term holders. We got to the point where we're the highest we'd ever been. Okay, this means your risk to reward is just out of the water right now, showing that even if we have little dips along the way, we are setting up for, and see where these peaks are. Look at this move to the upside. See where this peak is? Move to the upside. Peak here, move to the upside. But you asked about short-term holders, so I'll give it to you, baby. So best time to buy is before retail enters. The question is, are you emulating smart money or will you be exit liquidity? As you see this rising right here, this is the supply of short-term holders. This is when all that retail comes in because now they see price rising and they say, oh, I don't want to miss it, but they buy the top. We want to buy when this is down here. Not only was short-term, long-term holders highest it's ever been, short-term holders got to the lowest it's ever been over here. We're not at the market cycle bottom. Over here, this is suggesting that we are still in a great opportunity. And this is what's happening right now. The market is doing everything it can to move your crypto into their wallets. We see this like we saw yesterday. And I outlined this before this played out yesterday, that as this was moving up, I said this is likely going to be a whipsaw, which is a liquidity flush up, liquidity flush down, meaning getting people committed long only to reverse it, getting people committed short only to reverse it. Then there's no indication at this point which direction it's going to go. At this point, it's going to say which direction does the narrative want to take it. But what I want to lean into first, much like the chart you showed there a second ago, this is a similar thing. What are the accumulation addresses doing right now? Look at this huge influx right here of capital, of Bitcoin into these accumulation wallets, people that are buying to hold. This is bullish. I am not scared about a price action right now. In fact, the stream I'm doing right after this is talking about this opportunity that's brewing right now. This opportunity that's brewing right now is immense. And so when we're looking at this supports this as well. This wallet's over 1,000 Bitcoin, just strong uptrend as it stands right now. Does this mean we can't get downside? No, it doesn't mean that, but it does mean if we do get downside, I'm buying, because we're still seeing positive capital flow in. But what does it mean for price? This is that whipsaw, boom. And then the narrative here, two things happened here, which I talk about a lot on the Bitlab channel and in the Academy, is when you have a range like this and all of a sudden you get a lower low, and in this sort of immediate range right here, we have a lower low followed by a lower high. This is indicating to me likelihood of moving down. Is there any supporting evidence? Well, when we zoom out here, let's look at where this stochastic is in the RSI. And we see right here, at this point right here, is the stochastic higher or lower from this point to this point? If we really zoom into this, we see the stochastics are a bit lower on this orange line. This is saying that this is getting a little bit weak as this comes up into here. We also see that the money flow flips negative right here, and this supports by the price action coming back down. So these are the levels I'm watching. And by the way, I am so bullish, but I'm looking for these levels as an absolute steal if we start targeting, breaking down into these zones. Now, 48,200, you said 47, but 48,200 is a level I'm watching like a hawk, because I think this is going to be a major important level.
Do you have anything on 46,800?
46 right here. The 46.8 would be this right here, option J. This is this previous range high. And this is, if we do this, let's see, this would represent, 46.8, 46.9, which is this range high. That would be a great level. This would be, I think, a flush out if this happens, because this blue line has marked an incredible amount of confidence and for the bulls as support. And then also when we lost this, and this has been all the way up, it's been a guiding level. So 48.2 is a key level. And if we lose that, yes, 46.9, I think would be a great level. And, if we kind of come back over to this chart, come back up to just go to the dashboard, short-term holder costs. Short-term holder cost basis is now at the level of, let's see, where is that? It's 42. So we still have plenty of room to the downside to still be bullish if it were to flush down there. So my whole point with all this is all this price action is doing up here is moving money from the impatient to the patient. I'm looking for buy opportunities anywhere down into these zones. I'm so bullish in all this. Now, we also have so much bullishness. Just a reminder, yes, everybody's talking ETFs. There's been over 278,000 Bitcoins scooped up in 6 weeks. This is buying pressure coming in. This is that area we're looking for, that halving. And look what has happened post halving each time in these in these cycles. This is what we're preparing for. Do not get chopped out. Now, on the other side of this, I do want to point out, we're talking about all these altcoins and picks. This is a chart from Lady of Crypto. Just a reminder, some of the coins that may be the biggest gainers this cycle may not have even been released yet this cycle. This is, you see Matic, Axie Infinity, Solana, AVAX, Gala, Shiba Inu, Sand, all released roughly right around where the halving is. Now, is this going to play true again this cycle? Who knows? But we are seeing in the charts, all the altcoins were telegraphing a bit of a pullback here. And when we talk about different things like Chlor, which is another one of those coins that I think is going to have a huge impact in terms of upward price action, we're sharing all these things in the Discord. We're sharing all these things here on the stream, and we're breaking it down here on Discover and Bitlab Academy. Things are setting up for one of the last best opportunities we're ever going to get in this market. Right now is the time. Let's celebrate any downside price action. Let's be prepared to allocate where we need to. I know I'm doing my next big DCA on about 6 or 7 projects. I'm sharing it all in the Bitlab Discord, and I'm doing it next week. So while some people are frustrated, I'm like, go down, sucker. I want to get those low prices. So let's have a strategy. That's all I got today. Accumulate. The big guys are. What are you doing?
Kelly, appreciate you as always. Yeah, we got quite a few chats coming in here, and I agree with a lot of those levels, which we'll talk about, and even more so in just a second, on my thoughts on where we're at with the fear in the markets and should we be dollar cost averaging. But we have Seal in the chat here. Come on, people, help me out. Which is cheaper to transfer out of KuCoin, Bitcoin or USDT? 100%, I would say just utilize USDT.
Yeah, I would say the same.
There is a little bit of a trick. I think if you transfer out XLM, we could still do that if he's using the KuCoin. So the only thing is, though, if it depends on where you're at, Seal, because I don't know. I haven't used KuCoin now in months because they obviously push us out of the US. I don't know if you can transfer or trade, or if you can only transfer out.
I don't think you can use Stellar as it sits right now in the US out of KuCoin.
So you're stuck with USDT or Bitcoin. Can you even transfer to a stable coin?
You have to, but the best advice I saw, I was looking into this, and it looks like you have to leave some Polygon aside for the transaction. But yeah, it looks like USDT is your best option.
You'll have the dust in the portfolio forever. Yeah. We have some super chats coming in, though, and shout out to, I believe it was Jacob. Welcome to the allies here. Member for 1 month as well here with the super chat. Would love to see what y'all think of Syntropy. Noia, I had a small bag of $200 and recently an 8 to 9x recently. I haven't looked into Syntropy, honestly, in so long. Have you honestly ever looked up Noia?
No, I've never looked at this project.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
I'm interested. You piqued my interest.
Don't think shouldn't be this unless they updated their website. If this is their website, they've definitely upgraded since I've been. Let me pull up Noia right here. I bought this, I want to say 2021, because it was part, again, that one narrative. It was right. It's this ISO narrative of, let me pull this up here. So this is June, July 2021. They pull it up here. Yeah, they changed it. I'm pretty sure they've changed their website since I've seen it. So I can't tell you where the roadmap ads or what the public access and the DEX is, everything that's integrated with it. I'd have to reconvene and kind of get my thoughts and do some research on this. What I do know is this was part of, again, that ISO narrative where it was kind of tacked on into that category. And traditionally, when I saw that happen in 2021, it was pushed behind a narrative. And I would want to make sure that there's actually some sustainability with that price action. But again, I can't give any thoughts on this one because I haven't looked into it in years. I don't know where the roadmap it is. I'm telling you right now, I know their website has 100% shifted. And I think that it was because of their partners is why I first jumped in on it. I don't know if there was a thing involved with NVIDIA and their partnerships, but I do kind of slightly remember that. So I'll have to get back to you on that one. We have also, though, number one crypto pick and biggest gain here. Biggest gain. My number one crypto pick, I'm going to say this. I can't tell you, it's impossible to tell you which crypto is going to have the biggest gain. Nobody can do that. You got to diversify. Everybody will learn that. If you're in more than one cycle, you're going to learn that you need to diversify if you want to hit those big gainers. The industries, though, okay, Bitcoin layer 2s, I think have probably the most upside potential out of any industry. And that's because of the amount of capital and liquidity available to it and the amount of money and capital that is flooding into it. There's nothing that compares right now in terms of the roughly estimations of $20 to $30 billion looking to flood into it over the next 3 years. And if Justin Sun just decides to open up that floodgate, that could happen much, much sooner.
Absolutely. Like what you said, I completely agree with. Like if I'm in charge of $1 trillion company, obviously you see Ethereum building out this great DeFi protocol, but who's the king Kugla of crypto? It's Bitcoin. It's the base layer of crypto. And if you're handling, hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars, you're looking at deploying that value somewhere. If I can put, focus on smart contracts on Bitcoin, that's the direction that I personally am taking if I was in charge of that much value. So that's just my overall opinion. I'm huge on ICP. I love stacks. We've been in Bitcoin ordinals. They're a very successful attack on Bitcoin. They ask some very hard questions for Bitcoin and the devs within it. It's still a very hotly contested argument, and it just had the same kind of unwelcome vibes that I saw NFTs receive when they first, just Ethereum NFTs when they busted out onto the market last bull market cycle. The sentiment from Bitcoin maxis towards ordinals felt the same. So that's kind of what I see with the Bitcoin layer 2's biggest gainer, though. I like to talk about things that haven't really exploded yet, and I've been watching directed acyclic graphs. Honestly, Caspa stole the show for a long time in that realm, but I'm still very, very bullish on Constellation DAG, data encryption. And
honestly, I just love listening to Benjamin Jorgensen with his fireside chats. That used to be like my go-to. A lot of my 2021 content was around that. And I think there's just a lot of technical advantages to that. I wanted to say off I'm curious, chat, how many of you hold DAG? Type 1 in the chat if you hold DAG.
If you like DAGs.
Type 2 in the chat, though, or just spam it. Do you hold ICP? Because this is a video I just did last night. You should definitely go check it out. But something I didn't put in that video, here's some alpha. Dominic, the founder of Dfinity, and kind of one in charge of it. And Drew knows I've been bearish a lot on ICP, and it's not because of the technology. The technology is great. It's primarily due to the fact I've had such a terrible experience with just the marketing and the grant programs. And I don't necessarily blame that on the team. I don't know who to. I've just experienced that marketing aspect in the States much differently than most people have had the opportunity to. And it's not that, again, the tech is an issue. I love a lot of developers. I love Code and State, some of the kind of VCs that are pushing money into the ecosystem. But then I was listening to Dominic, and every time you listen to Dominic, it just kind of gives you, wow, there's something here, right? Because they're building virtually, for you guys that don't know, ICP is kind of eliminating big tech. Every single project out there essentially relies on Amazon Web Services. So every time you buy an NFT and you're on a decentralized network, it's really not at its core, and it's ultimately just code on top of a centralized database controlled by something like Amazon. So it just instantly goes centralized. But ICP is actually the largest layer 2 Bitcoin developer.
Yes.
I would say Stacks is right underneath that, but they have a wrap called CKBTC that works with their canisters. I'm not going to go into the technicals, but I do believe if they start actually really prioritizing that. Dominic once said famously, follow the trend. You want to come into crypto, you want to be successful, follow the trend. And that took him a decade to learn.
Pretty perfect positioning for where we're at right now, too.
I agree. And they're also the leader in like DEPIN, because they're obviously the DEPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure. It just makes sense. And so I do want you guys to check out that video. It's really cool. Shout out to everybody that's holding those projects in the chat here. Is ICP's price actually going to be the 10xer? I don't know. It's already at a $7 billion market cap. But I would really pay attention to. They have some really cool tech on there if layer 2 start growing there. So yeah,
I'm overly bullish on ICP, but that's me. I lost out. Like I bought a few tokens when it was like $100, $150 way back when. It was a very, very small position last cycle, before we really realized that we were completely falling back down to bear market zone. Took my losses, lost like $500 on that, hammered back into it with well over invested at $3. And it's been great. I'm heavily overexposed at this point.
That's a victory lap. W's in the chat. W Drew +1 Drew in the chat right now.
And it's like, this is my bear market win, or accumulation market win. It's like you got to take profits to better your life in the immediate term. And really my situation right now, I was able to hammer in at those low levels. We're talking about when it was $3. So I don't think that price action is here. I still do have a keen eye for watching out for this project accomplishing $100 billion market cap, though. It's going to make a lot of people upset, I feel like. But I think it's coming, man. And
Wow.
I'm a decentralized maxi. You know, anytime that I can support something that's trying to cut out the middlemen that basically forced my opinion off the internet during flu season, I am going to monetarily champion those projects. So
He's going to take you down.
yeah, I'm going to take them down.
I'm going to take him down. No, I love it, dude. But speaking of taking down Bitcoin ETFs, man, Bitwise Bitcoin ETF approved investment option for $30 billion advisor network. Get this, guys. Bitwise Bitcoin ETF Trust, BitB, was recently approved as an investment option for a $30 billion network of registered investment advisors, RIAs. BitB was selected again. It's going to just keep approving it there. Among the recently launched spot Bitcoin ETFs, Bitwise's offerings hold a prominent position, trailing behind BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust, and of course, ARK and 21 Shares. RIAs, though, guys, whether individuals or firms, offer financial advice and manage investment portfolios, collectively overseeing. Get this. This is why I am so beyond bullish on Bitcoin Layer 2s. We need to capture 0.01% of the entire volume. And it's like outpacing Ethereum Layer 2s by a mile, collectively overseeing $115 trillion in assets for 62 million clients.
Yeah, no.
That's where we end the show. I'm just kidding.
I mean, that's it. And you know, the massive deficit that scares us to all ends on the traditional markets, we're $35 trillion in debt, right? We're talking about this investment avenue overseeing $115 trillion. I mean, they could fix the country's deficit a few times over. They're not going to do that, of course. They're going to hammer in to be at the top of the hill. This is the race to be the king of the hill in Bitcoin holdings when this next bull market blow off top comes. I think we're going to have this is my theory. I think that the traditional stock market is going to be hurting like crazy right around the end of 2025, beginning of 2026. I think very hard times are coming in that realm. And really, this is the technological renaissance where these companies that we're seeing right now, we'll be talking about it later, NVIDIA, all of these AI infrastructure build out projects. This is the new .com era. And it is at a regard a bubble. You know, you keep in mind that the .com explosion was a bubble. But at least within crypto, we have a mathematical understanding of the halving process and a rough bellwether about where the bottom of these prices can go. With that, I could go into the cost of mining Bitcoin as my bellwether. The cost of mining and creating it is kind of what I stick to, is kind of that line in the sand.
Yeah, people don't realize how important marginal costs are on the value of this. When someone says Bitcoin has no value, think of it this simply. If you need a elevator pitch, one sentence to tell your family and friends that think you're absolutely batshit crazy for touching crypto because of how risky it is, just simply say this. Bitcoin converts wasted energy that your oil companies, that your power companies globally waste billions and trillions of dollars in value. Just wasted because they overproduce and they capitalize off pretty much the 99%. Bitcoin takes that energy and turns it into a net value.
Right.
That is the one-liner. Then you can that brings down carbon emission costs. That brings down, that elevates GDP for both the company, the state, whether the government taxes. It builds jobs for modulars and local on-site Bitcoin modulars and mining centers. There's a lot of value that comes within that nobody even talks about because it's too technical and it bores people.
It also balances
so much
the
value.
energy grid, right? What are we talking about? China, we're worried about China hurting our energy grid, or Iran hurting our energy grid. What do you think the results are out of Texas? They've balanced their energy grid with Bitcoin mining in a very provable manner. So,
it's just hard to explain. It's what is balancing a power grid, right? And that's where they start going. It hurts because this is where then you have a bunch of uneducated senators that are only in their positions of power because of their donors, and they are just corrupted to their core. They're representative of their donors, not the people.
They
start advocating, saying this is bad for the environment. It's too loud. There's loud noise.
It feels nefarious to me to be psyoping the people out of really the greatest asset opportunity of our lifetime. Trying to keep us within these confines of banks, which literally are at risk of going insolvent across the board right now. And no one wants to talk about that. That's why I feel like Elizabeth Warren is so adamant to scare people out of crypto. Because they're on a house of cards.
Now she got John Deaton run for against her. So vote for John Deaton, babe. But we have Michael Saylor here, though, guys. So speaking of this demand, speaking of this mining, speaking of this value, this $115 trillion, Michael Saylor came out and said, who has $10 billion worth of Bitcoin? Said demand for Bitcoin, he is worth $10 billion, which is wild. Demand for Bitcoin is 10 times that of the supply. I I'm going to be crazy bullish right here and say I think that is incredibly a conservative viewpoint.
Well, it is.
I think
It's
if
a
you
little more than that now.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely. When is this from?
It's so the 10x of Bitcoin supply that these ETFs are eating up. That news broke about 2 weeks ago, I believe, but it's actually been upgraded. They're buying 12.5 times the amount of Bitcoin being mined every day right now. They have maybe if they keep up the pace that they're at right now, they have 105 days left of buying Bitcoin.
Before there's no more.
But basically, but that's accounting for the Bitcoin to be mined. And then you have miners buying Bitcoin with fiat on top of it. It's a perfect storm. It's the perfect supply shock. We use the supply shock reference often because of just the overall design of Bitcoin, but seeing the ETFs outpace the production on top of these massive institutions needing to find investments to put themselves at least back in the black after they got their rears handed to them, over investing into the psyop of environmental sustainability.
Oh, ESG?
So, yes.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? Yeah. Bitcoin is true ESG, and it's just like watching a perfect puzzle. They're trying to like take out puzzles so that way it can never be completed. And one of those puzzle pieces, guys, is an emerging multi-trillion-dollar industry where we're going to be giving you guys our 3 favorite picks here. And it's not there's tons in the industry. We're going to be showing you some hidden gems here in just a second for that emerging asset class. But MicroStrategy CEO, guys, of course, said this when asked if new competition would make it harder for MicroStrategy to source new Bitcoin. SAYLOR answered in the affirmative, describing the situation as a beneficial cycle. They explained that the spot ETFs opened a door for institutional capital to flow into Bitcoin's ecosystem. And SAYLOR current assets are now worth $10 billion and have yielded about 70% on paper. So essentially, he doesn't care. He's like, yeah, please bring them in. That means more demand, less supply. My money go up, right? He knows the narrative. He believes every person in the world is going to be connected to a single Satoshi at one point in their life. That is the narrative we're hitting. And speaking of all these GPUs, guys, as that supply crunches, this is the most bullish cycle we will ever see because we are getting the Bitcoin halving in less than 60 days. And we have a huge issue in supply crunch already with GPUs. This is coming out of COVID with the semiconductor crisis when we had everybody panic because, of course, I can actually just say this now, your mainstream media, your news outlets, these Amazon Web Services, all these platforms were literally pushing a narrative of you need to stay in your house and you need to get out of the city you need to just, this is just completely locked down. This caused a massive influx in people moving from the city into the country and a mass upbringing and purchasing cars for commuting and caused a huge supply chain crunch coming out of Taiwan about 3 years ago. We still have rumblings from that, and it's actually getting worse because at the same time, we now have artificial intelligence exploding. We have things like Bitcoin competing, and now it's hitting almost a $2 trillion market cap. Miners buying more miners than ever. They need more GPUs, and leads us to real world assets in the DEPIN category. This is the perfect transition here. So I wanted to touch on just Hong Kong pushing for tokenization of real world assets really quick. Hong Kong's financial regulators, including the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the Securities and Futures Commission, this is the SEC of Hong Kong, recently announced that its intent to provide detailed guidance on tokenized products, and this aims to establish clear regulatory standards for the banking industry. Additionally, the SFC plans to issue circulars on tokenized securities and SFC authorized investment products. So Hong Kong, guys, I wanted to show you this chart right here. Check this out. Tokenized market as a percentage of global GDP. We're in 2024 at 1.5%. Yep. By 2030, they expect that to 16x, so 16.1
not
between.
Bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. 16% of global GDP. We're talking what, $100 trillion? What is the full total GDP right now? I don't know if you want to pull that up. I forgot the number. But essentially, it's about 100 trillion. I just found it because it says reach up to $16 trillion.
Yeah.
So guys, the tokenization of real world assets is happening. You realize everything that is tokenized relies on what? Physical infrastructure.
Well, yeah. And, it's interesting to see this call simultaneous to American banks, right? Like American banks have the same focus for a $16 trillion mark by 2030. We're talking VanEck. Some of the biggest banks and asset managers on the planet are calling for that same level of transition into real world assets. Transitions are weird.
It is. But Chainlink's executives using it. So this is really cool because they're leading banks. He says that their leading banks have started transitioning into tokenizing real world assets. So even Chainlink, guys, this is why I agree with Nick in the beginning of this. Chainlink, I think, is just It's just beyond a blue chip. Sergey Nazarov created a public good, a public service that was scalable beyond means. And I became bearish actually in the bear market and faded Chainlink. And that was primarily because I thought Binance and the Oracle play was starting to become more competitive. I was like, why are these exchanges not, or just going to let Chainlink run with Oracles and not offer their own services? So they developed something called the CCIP.
Right.
And then they just dwarfed everything. At this point, they're a giant that's not sleeping. They're awakened.
Lunch.
They just ate it.
They drank their milkshake.
They drank their milkshake. They literally are working with SWIFT in Australian and New Zealand central banks.
Chainlink
to do
saved
exactly
fractional banking.
Exactly. And it's actually the idea that it's not just a crypto; it's a data service. You know what I mean? It's like it's a real world product that's being utilized in real time by the largest institutions on the planet. Once I saw that, because I was watching the range that Chainlink was trapped in, it was trapped in like this $5, $6 range for a very, very long during the bear market. But the moment that I saw the Swift news breakout and the stablecoin, overall stablecoin influx coming back into crypto, I hammered in. I got completely out of Bitcoin. I was Bitcoin maximal-ish for the entirety of the bear market up until September 9th. And I hammered in. And it's been great since then. I don't think that Chainlink is anything people should be sleeping on and thinking that Pyth is going to overtake it. I'm glad that there's a competitor to it. Pyth is going to do well. Okay, Nick. Okay.
It better.
It's going to do great.
I agree though, because it's like, this is where people just need to learn the difference between capitalism and socialism.
Right.
It's like this is a capitalistic society that we live in, and Chainlink's a dominant placeholder in that. But there's going to be competition as AI and quantum start to really jump in. There's going to be more and more utility behind different oracles and the needs for them. And so I agree. There's going to be a massive move here. And this is also leading us to everything that these banks are going to rely on. So as they tokenize all these asset guys, DEPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure. We have multiple videos on this now on the channel. You definitely need to start learning about it, because I'm telling you now, everybody's starting to talk about this trend and saying it's going to blow up in like 6 months to a year. It's going to be the main mover of this cycle. There is something that's very key in supply chains, and it's a supply curve, and it kind of just goes up and down like this. And right now we are at the bottom of that, where we have a very limited supply of the GPUs, of the semiconductors, of that physical infrastructure that is needed. And it's been being developed now for almost 2 years. These have been talked since 2021. And so, this isn't a new issue that we're just coming in and saying, oh, wait, we need to invest trillions of dollars into this. The CHIPS Plan 4 Act, I believe, was in 2021, if not 2022. And that was reallocating the positions of where chip manufacturers are currently in today's world, which most of it was in Taiwan.
There's something else that I've been watching about. You just mentioned it, Taiwan. Why would there be such a contention for Taiwan? This little island off the side of China, right? Why is China so focused on it? It's because the country that controls the biggest production of chips is going to control the future. So I think that trade play that we see from China is another telegraphed tell that this is the technological revolution. And these countries, these nation states, they're looking to capture that manufacturing capability really ahead of the curve. So, there's multiple facets where you could be watching on the macro. That's why I watch macro. It gives me confluence in crypto. If we see these massive nation states vying for power and making pretty audacious moves, into Taiwan for that control, then we see America trying to, actually the manufacturing, new plant production in America is spiking. It's going crazy right now because we're getting ready to produce them here in America. I think that, more kind of I don't want to say the naughty words here on this show because we might get banned, but we're going to see more of insular nation actions, and America is going to have to be, it's going to be forced to produce its own chips at a point.
Yeah, we're going from globalism. I had a really bad cramp right now in my rib. I was like, but we're going from globalism to regionalism is kind of the transition we're starting to see. And this is why you're starting to see, people are panicking and scared because we have all these immigrants, right? A lot of these immigrants are flooding over to us, and there's a lot of concerns with the national security issues. And a bill I think that was just introduced today, or if not within the last 2 weeks, is allowing a fast-paced approval process for citizenship by allowing immigrants to join the military. And while some people immediately are going to say, oh, that's just terrible, this is a way out. It's like, well, one, that's going to force them into schooling, force them into everything that they need to be approved for that citizenship. But two is the growth rate in Mexico. Now, there's a lot of issues with the actual immigrants that are coming in. It's not just people from Mexico. There's a lot of people from actually banned in like, terrible countries that have been on certain lists, right? But the overall growth of manufacturing, you're going to start seeing move to the States. And I don't want to bore the audience too much because I know I would get nerded out with this and I want to dive into this.
Yeah.
But is why these three tokens and this crypto industry we're about to talk about is so important. So here is the CEO of NVIDIA, guys. The industry I'm about to talk about, this is directly correlated. And I want you to listen to the number that he says right here and how much is about to flood into it. So let me go ahead and play this for you now. It's a little quiet.
This is now the beginning of accelerated computing. If you want sustainable computing, energy efficient computing, high performance computing, cost effective computing, you can no longer do it with general purpose computing. You need specialized domain specific acceleration. And that's what's driving at the foundation our growth, accelerated computing. It's the most sustainable way of doing computing going forward. It's the most energy efficient.
30 more seconds.
It is so energy efficient, it's so cost effective, it's so performant that it enabled a new type of application called AI. The question is, what's the cart and the horse? First is accelerated computing and enabled a new application. There's a whole bunch of applications that are accelerated today. And so now we're in the beginning of this new era. And what's going to happen is there's about $1 trillion worth of installed base of data centers around the world. And over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, we'll have $2 trillion worth of data centers that will be powering software around the world. And all of it's going to be accelerated. And this architecture for accelerated computing is ideal for this next generation of software called generative AI.
Generative AI. There you guys go.
Yeah.
So over $1 trillion more he expects within just 4 years. And that number is just within the physical infrastructure. I don't think that's at all correlating to the DEPIN category of these products.
There's something just came to my mind here.
Yeah.
I mean, we should be looking at this for the job market too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of skill sets that people have put together over the last 10, 20 years. We might have to, if you're at home and you're seeing your job be outsourced or outdone by AI. I mean, physical infrastructure of data centers, getting involved with that ahead of time. There's many different assets of it. You could be hiring, you could be on the construction side, but just kind of that mind shift can change as you see this build out coming up. I mean, this is when during flu season, I had to find new use cases for myself because hiring was in the gutter. And basically I just leaned into armed work because I saw the world turning into chaos. But now here I'm in crypto. So the world's a crazy place.
It's just constant. It's funny how it just kind of all comes together. So I know you have a project you want to pull up. I'm going to pull up some DEPIN tokens here just to show the audience as well. Of course, we have multiple videos on this, guys, but this is the category. And just getting ahead of the curve here, guys, he's saying he expects us to expand to $2 trillion by the next 5 years. This is why this cycle is really going to be, I think, I don't necessarily know how long the trend behind DEPIN is going to go because everybody's going to start transitioning towards the money that will flood into the development of this ecosystem. I expect that within the next 6 to 18 months here. So huge category of this industry and is why, the top project in this category is going to be Render, which you guys might be familiar with. I've talked about it in a few of the videos, of course. I'm sure Blockchain Basement has covered this plenty times in the past.
Got people in on this thing like
a year and a half ago. Shout out to Roosevelt Taylor for the $5 super chat.
Yeah, we've been following it since it came down to about $1.50 because it exploded in the last cycle. And again, just one of those narratives that people should, I think, pay attention to a lot more in, of course, 2021. Because now look at the market cap. This is what I want to point out, right? The price action in 2021 was at $7.83. We're about to compete with that all-time high. When you look at market cap, there's been a lot of token dilution. And in fact, the industry is exploding. So despite it not hitting its previous all-time high yet, the growth in this ecosystem and the growth in the DEPIN category is just, it's parabolic at this range. And so, Render's moved a ton. I honestly still think Render has a lot of upside potential, but there's a lot of tokens that will be launching that are also competitors or developing other DEPIN categories, whether it's decentralized storage, wireless communication, anything of that sort that will be following suit here. So I don't know if you have your project you want to show and just pull up here.
Yeah, well, it's right on this conversation. It's Aether Cloud. It's changing a little bit of how we're utilizing GPUs, in Render with its partnership with Apple. It really is shining really bright. Something on Render I just want to keep everyone in mind here. This is my hillbilly TA. You flash it and look at the market cap. The market cap is well beyond his previous all-time high. So when it accomplished this price of $7.90, the market cap was sitting right at around $1.3 billion, sitting at $2.4 billion and below that level still. So you have to keep that in mind. That's why I'm looking for faster horses in the race, newer projects now. And I was looking at this one, Aether Cloud. I've been seeing a lot of hype just from people that I follow on Twitter. It's been a lot of like kind of organic showing of this project to me. And this is all plugged into the DEPIN game as well. Bionics all in on DEPIN Gem Y, revolutionizing cloud computing by tapping idle GPUs, ultra low latency infra with GPU AAS, plus the unique features that it comes with. So I do think that this one it's not available yet. The project has not launched its token yet. This is very early, and I'm going to be watching for when this token is available to purchase and try to get into the test net as well, obviously. But this one, along with Layer Zero, like Layer Zero, we don't have the access to the token yet, but I want Layer Zero along with that. But this is in the GPU utilization DEPIN game, and I think that this is going to be taking a lot of the attention over the next few months. I think we're looking at about 5 to 6 months out from the token being available, but I'm going to be keeping the basement and obviously you guys up to date for when it's available.
And we always appreciate it, man. I got the DEPIN list up here on CoinGecko. So if you guys are interested in learning more about DEPIN, of course, we have our videos on this channel that you should check out. I also wrote a really nice Twitter thread. That's what I was going to pull up.
And we have, render forecast. I think we should stick on render. We have a super chat. Let's see who we got here. It was all
so
the way
my
back
forecast
here.
on renders, like I think it can still 5x from here. It's been the explosive mover of the category. So I'm going to show you some other gems here because look at this, right? Render, if we type in just coins, at least within the oh wait, did I just mess it up? I did just mess it up. Let me go back to DEPIN. Here you go. You'll notice that render is number 2, right? Filecoin and render are already up there. And I do believe render is going to pass its all-time highs. I do believe that. I think there is upside potential to render still. I'm not fading render whatsoever. I'm just going to give you my 3 choices over that because we've been in render for so long. There's other ones I'm starting to look to just diversify into. If you follow me on Twitter here, of course, on X, you'll notice that we put out a thread. I put out a giant thread here on the AI and crypto game with DEPIN here with my 3 top picks.
That's great.
In this DEPIN this landscape here, guys, it's kind of a brief breakdown of exactly what DEPIN is, how it works, and how it functions, the market cap, expectations, which, of course, the artificial intelligence market size. I wanted to show you this because it's so funny. They believe by 2032, it's only going to be about $500 million, and that is in the U.S. But if you're looking at the CEO of NVIDIA's price predictions, the U.S. is already the majority market share of that, so that is very conservative in price action for at least that range. But my favorites are going to be Chlor.ai, another competitor here to render that we called at 11 cents. It's already up over 100%, but another really cool project. I definitely recommend check that one out. OPSEC is another one that's utilizing security function for privacy cloud computing. There's another decentralized physical infrastructure network for cloud computing. That one I'm watching as well. And then RWA'S just been one of my favorites for years.
Yeah.
And is been around for a minute. It's kind of it's lived through a cycle. And it's going to be that's going to be my choice over the Filecoin. Filecoin's a multi-billion-dollar market cap. Again, nothing wrong with Filecoin. I think there's a lot of advantages to it. I'm just also diversifying into other projects because I've been here for multiple cycles, and it's like we've had those gains, we've seen those gains. Now it's like you said in the beginning, you're looking at 80 to 130 versus 10 to 20 for those projects.
Absolutely, man. There's a time for peace. There's a time for crypto war. I think we're in for the really explosive gains for crypto we have not seen yet. Like we get super excited when we're seeing 10x's, but I think what's coming is really going to blow people's socks off. I shout out to you if you are watching this show right now while the overall interest of the retail person is in the gutter, keeping their heads in the clouds, worried about the bubble popping and how are they going to get a baseball bat to fight a guy for a lighter. That's ridiculous worries to have. You don't want to live in a state of fear. You cannot operate or make good decisions in a state of fear. So shout out to you if you are here with the markets, the interest is down, and we're setting up for probably the best generational wealth transfer in our entire history. It's coming right around the corner. but it's a matter of how bad, in my opinion, 2020.
100%. Drew, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me today. I think this was a really fun show. I know you guys see on the list, the rundown, we just had some incredible conversations around RWA'S, real world assets, and this DEPIN category. Those, I think, conversations need to be had, and they need to be continued. Yeah. So again, appreciate for joining us today, and we'll see you on Blockchain Basement later today.
2 p.m. Eastern. See you soon.